Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing okay today. I'm Christiana. This is Kaitlin.
Hi.
We're the grief coaches for the pet loss support team, and we're really honored to be here with you today. And today we're going to talk a little bit about ways to memorialize and to remember your fur babies and to honor your fur baby. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about and just provide some suggestions. So first thing I want to bring up is to talk a little bit about rituals. So Kaitlin, what would you say rituals are?
Yeah, so rituals in my mind, there's two different things that comes up. But the first one is finding ways to still incorporate your baby into your day-to-day life. So when they pass away, it's not just them not being there anymore, it's the lack of the routine that we suddenly have now. You're not waking up in the morning and having to take them to the bathroom or feed them their breakfast or give them their medication at night. And so filling up those times instead of just staring at the clock can be really helpful as you go through your grief journey. So some ways to go through, the day and to create these rituals for them. One of them is our Arms of Love journal. It's a free journal that you can download, and it's just an amazing resource. It's pre-written prompts, and they go every week for the month that you're in. And so you can fill those out. And then there's also My Pet Remembrance Journal that we love and we recommend. There's a specific link to buy it, but again, it's pre-written prompts. And that one, it's about 80 pages, and it goes from the beginning of their life, either when you brought them home or when they were born, through your whole life with them until they pass away. And again, those are things that you can do that time where you would be feeding them in the morning. If you've got nothing else to do, just pick up that journal, fill it out, and it'll help you sort of come up with those memories as well.
Yeah, I love that. And that Arms of Love journal, that's the one that we use in our curriculum every week. So we'll talk a little bit more about our curriculum later, but we do use that as well. But I love that it's free. So you can just download it and just use it, throughout the entire year first. So I love that. Some other daily rituals that I really think can be really great because they're not a big commitment. Because I know that sometimes when we're grieving, it's hard to make big commitments, is candle lighting.
Mhm.
Lighting a candle, sometimes when you wake up first thing in the morning and what used to be breakfast time or medication time, all of a sudden you're reminded that it's not breakfast time anymore. Or sometimes when you come home after work and the house is really quiet, it can be that silence can be deafening. So I recommend doing it at a certain time of day every day, including that in your ritual. And then just lighting a candle, leaving that candle lit for 10 or 20 minutes, sitting with your grief, feeling what you need to feel, honoring your fur baby, and just like I said, feeling what you need to feel. So I'm really a big fan of candle lighting. And then another thing is also flower planting. I love the idea of planting flowers and having a life to nurture and water every day. Since you've lost your fur baby, to have just another life to honor in their honor.
And another one that I was thinking of as well is continuing to go on walks. So pet parents or dog parents, if you used to go on the same path every day and that was a big part of your routine, like let's say you went on a walk every night before bed, try going on that walk, but take their collar or their leash with you. So it's like they're still on the walk with you, or maybe even take some treats and pass those out to all the dogs that you go by and say that this is from your sweet baby in honor of them. So yeah, just some examples of things that you can do. Again, keep them in your day-to-day routine. It's going to feel like you're honoring them, but it's also giving you specific times in your day to really sit with your grief and feel it.
Right. And because and we've talked about this before, there's grief and then there's mourning.
Mhm.
And grief is what we feel on the inside. It's the internal response to loss. And mourning is what we do with that grief. And all these rituals and memorials, they're a way for us to do that mourning and to do that mourning work. And we really have to allow ourselves to do that active mourning to mend our hearts and to move through our grief.
Mhm.
Now, there's daily rituals, and then there's also annual rituals that we do, or rituals that we do, in life, like memorials and funerals. We do these for humans all the time, and they're a ritual that helps us transition to the next step in our life and process that. To me, it makes sense that we would also do it for our fur babies and not just our humans. So there's ideas that you can do memorials for your fur babies. There's one thing that I love. We have a bubble release
Mhm.
reading. I think that that's a great idea to do at memorials, and it's just a beautiful passage about releasing bubbles. And then you can have everybody have bubbles and release bubbles. And so we'll go ahead and add that bubble release reading to the pictures as well. And then you can do lots of things. You can have all of your friends and family think of their favorite memory and bring up their favorite memory while they gather. Or you can have everybody light a candle at the same time. If you can't get everybody in person, that's the one good thing we've gotten out of the pandemic is most people are pretty good at doing things virtually these days. So you can get people to light a candle virtually, or everybody have a toast at the same time virtually. So they're going to be there and honoring your fur baby at the same time that you are.
Mm-hmm. And Christiana had sort of mentioned earlier about planting a flower and just, again, having something to tend throughout the day, but that's something you can do in a service as well. You can ask people to bring their favorite flower or their favorite plant, and one that either they really like and brings them comfort, or maybe one that just reminds them of your baby. And so everybody can get together and, pick a spot outside in the backyard, whether it's where your baby like to sit or you just like to go outside and, be in that area, but plant that garden and just really spend that time being out there. And also, like Christiana said, just having people write their favorite stories. And those are things that you can read out as you go ahead and plant those little flowers and have that beautiful space to go and sit with them.
Yeah. And then another thing you can do is ask everybody to pick out their favorite picture. You can either have them go through your Facebook or have a bunch of pictures printed out and have them, pick out their favorite picture and hold it during the service. So there's a lot of ideas, and we just recommend doing what feels right to you. You knew your fur baby best. So just do what feels right to you. Mm-hmm. Some other things that we can do to memorialize our fur babies and honor our fur babies are keepsakes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and keepsakes are a great way to have things, very physical things that you can carry around with you. We know lots of people who get jewelry made with their baby's ashes if they did bring them home. I know some people either bury their sweet ones or they do a communal cremation where they don't get the ashes returned, and that's okay. There's still tons of things that you can get in that case. Etsy is probably our favorite place to go and get anything custom made. There's tons of different shops. You just start typing in pet memorial jewelry, pet, keepsakes, things like that. And the jewelry, I've seen necklaces with the ashes in it or necklaces with a picture of their baby. You can get rings made with the ashes. I've seen earrings made with the ashes, just anything, again, that really speaks to you and your life with them, that makes you feel like you're honoring them. You can also purchase, again, if you're planting that garden outside, get a little rock that you've gotten custom made with your baby's name and maybe a favorite quote, and kind of put that outside. And that's a permanent memorial, for them. So, again, with people, we always do this. We don't really think anything of it. We just know we're going to. But with our furry family members, a lot of times we don't think to do this, but there's tons of keepsakes out there. So just know that, if you're thinking of something and you say, I really want to have a piece of them with me everywhere, definitely recommend go on Etsy or just Google, and there'll be tons of different shops.
Yeah. And, speaking of keepsakes, there was somebody who they had a smaller dog, and what they did is they used their dog's collar as a bracelet, which I thought was really creative. And I know somebody else who they cut the collar and they kind of sewed it and they made it as a bracelet. So there's a lot of different things you can do. Your dog's water bowl is really good to use. You can use it as a planter. So you can just fill it, pick a few succulents or whatever plant you want, fill it with soil, and that can be a really beautiful planter to be in their honor. And then one extra touch is to wrap the collar around the planter, just to be, something really special to honor them as well, and to do with your time and your energy.
Yeah. And just going back a little to rituals and things that you can do during the day to fill up that time, making scrapbooks or making photo albums is a really great way. Dedicate one day to going through all of them, print out all your photos, and then every day at 6 o'clock, you sit down and you make that photo album. And then at the end, you're going to have this beautiful thing to show everybody. And then also creating a memorial table, a shrine, just a way to honor them. I know some people do it on the mantle above their fireplace. Some people do it at the table that's right when you walk into the house, and they'll have photos of their baby, their urn, the candle that they're lighting, whenever they want to. Maybe they'll write letters to their baby and they'll just put it, with the urn, things like that. But those are really pretty as well. Again, we make those for humans. I think that we should do it for animals as well.
Yeah, I love that idea of the tribute table, especially with kids, because kids are so visual, right? Mm-hmm. So having a tribute table for them to just really be able to remember their fur baby and remember their friend is just a really great thing to do as an adult, but definitely if you have kids as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you mentioned the letter writing, and I think that that's something to bring up as well, because, we talk about journaling, and there's no right or wrong way to journal. It can be writing about how you feel that day. It can be writing letters to your fur baby. It can be on a voice recorder. Maybe you don't want to write. Maybe you want to record on your phone. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. But I love the idea of writing letters because sometimes it can feel like there's so much that was left unsaid, and you want to just get it out into the universe, or especially if there's any guilt involved in your grief, which oftentimes there is in pet loss. That's really natural, to use that letter, use those letters to ask for forgiveness in those moments.
Yeah. And again, just fitting those in at times where you would be doing something else, maybe right before bed, if bedtime is, you're really struggling to fall asleep or just staying asleep, waking up, and then writing those letters, like Christiana said, either to your baby, to yourself, memories, feelings, anything like that. And then again, sort of on Etsy, because we love that store, you can get custom made journals. You could get a picture of your baby and you could, in the inside, put your baby's name. And so that way, when you know that you open it, you're doing something for them. And that might make you feel like you're doing something really active with your grief and your mourning as well.
Right, absolutely. And there's things that you can do to really pay it forward as well in their honor. So, maybe you don't want to do a memorial, maybe you're not quite ready for that, but instead maybe you can start a GoFundMe, or get everybody to donate to the shelter that you adopted them from, or a rescue of their breed, or something like that, something that matters to you. Like, you can ask people to donate or donate yourself in honor of them. So if you're not ready to do a service, that's okay. When those dates come by, because whenever those annual dates come by, you can still do something, even if it's personal like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's a lot of ways that you can honor your fur babies. And we definitely talk a lot about them in our groups as well, and in our curriculum. If you ever want to sign up for any of our services, you can always go sign up for them on our website. So that would be the lapoflove.com, and then you go to services and pet loss support. And then, of course, you can always join us on our Facebook page. We do have our own Facebook community. It's a closed group, and it's just a place where you can, honor your fur baby in another way. You can post pictures of your fur baby. You can share your story. You can share if you're having a hard day. You can ask questions about other people's grief to see, if what you're going through is something similar than what other people are going through. And you can show support to other people who understand what you're going through, because pet loss can be so isolating sometimes. We can feel like nobody understands, but on this Facebook page, we are your people. We definitely understand that this is a real loss. Kaitlin, you want to talk a little bit about the services that we offer at the Pet Loss Support Team?
Yes. So like Christiana said, we have our support groups. So we have 3 different types of support groups. We have our main larger ones, the pet loss ones. And so those meet for an hour, multiple times a week over Zoom. Everything that we do is virtual, but those groups are just a great place. Also, like she mentioned, grief can be really isolating. So you're sitting in a group with, usually about 20 something people who all understand what you're going through. And it's just a really safe space to share your feelings and also get ideas for other memorials, maybe ones that we didn't mention in this live, and other just, coping mechanisms too. Christiana and I are always there for you as long as you need us, but we're not going through this currently. So I think there's a lot to be said from hearing from other people that are going through this at the same moment. And then we have an anticipatory grief group. So a little different from what we're talking about today, but that's for families whose sweet ones have, a really bad diagnosis, or they just know that the time is coming, but they're still alive and they're struggling with the anxiety of that. So that meets once a week, again, an hour over Zoom. And then we also have a children and family pet loss support group. So meets for an hour once a week over Zoom. And that's a safe space to go with your family. If you have children who are really struggling with the loss, or you're just having trouble with how to talk about this with them, that's another great place to go and just connect with other families who are experiencing the same. And then we have our individual support sessions. So those are $50 for a 50-minute phone call. And I meant to mention too, all of our support groups are free. So those are no cost to you. But our individual sessions, the $50, like I said, it's 50-minute phone call, and that's just a safe space to have time to yourself. As great as the groups are, you don't get to talk for a very long time, and there's only so much that we can share with you. But in these phone calls, you get all of that time just to yourself. It's very personalized support. So if there's any certain topics that you want to, get specific help on, talking about, guilt, we mentioned a little too, if guilt is something you're really struggling with, we'll be there to talk to you about that. And on the website, it does say that those sessions are for pet loss, but you can come and join those again if you're experiencing anticipatory grief too. And then our last one, Christiana mentioned this a few times, but our 6-week curriculum course, that's $149 for 6 weeks. You'll meet for an hour over Zoom once a week for those 6 weeks. And those are for people who want to group, but just don't really like the idea of a large group. Usually the curriculum is about 6 people. And so in those groups, every single week is a different topic. So for example, week 1 is why does this hurt so bad? And so we'll spend the first 20 minutes going over a PowerPoint presentation about why this hurts so bad and just other little coping mechanisms, things like that. And then the rest of the hour will be just talking amongst the group. So we have all 3 of those along with our Facebook page. So there's many different ways that we will be there to support you.
Yeah. And I love the curriculum groups because they're a lot smaller. And then the larger groups, it's usually only about 6 people. On average. So you really get to know these 6 people over 6 weeks and become a real support system. And there's a lot more engagement than we're able to do with the larger support groups. So that's another thing that I really love about the curriculum too.
Yeah. And I wanted to mention as well, just talking about our Facebook page and being this really safe environment. A lot of times when we lose our sweet ones, we really struggle with the year of first. And so that's the first holidays or the first time that you have to go through things without them. So if you have your first birthday coming up, their first birthday, gotcha day, I know the holiday season's in the next few months and you're really struggling and you just want to talk about them, I definitely recommend going to our Facebook page and just posting about them. Everyone is so supportive and so kind on there. And really, we love seeing pictures of your baby and we know that you want to talk about them. And then also reach out to us for support. We will be here for you when you go through those firsts.
Exactly. And, we talk a lot about on those firsts, try to plan the day, plan for the day and plan for the feelings. Go in with eyes wide open, knowing it might be a harder day. Or that there might be some emotions that come up, and try to plan something to honor your fur baby. Or it can be as simple as I'm gonna, watch funny movies all day and eat ice cream on the couch, but plan something for your day so that you're not waking up with this kind of anxious energy and not having anywhere to put that energy into. So we usually recommend trying to plan for those days, especially in the year of firsts.
And if you're struggling with kind of what to do on that day, or if you wanted to have a service and you're just not sure what to do, again, always reach out to us. We have tons of different ideas and we can definitely, help you come up with something for your sweet one.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Did you have anything that you wanted to add, Kaitlin, or did you want to see if anybody had any questions?
I think just look at questions. I was going to say, I see some comments. I saw someone said that she had diamonds made from her pet's ashes. That's beautiful. I've seen that before. I'm not sure where to get that done. I've also seen people recently have been getting tattoos with their baby's ashes as well. I think those are very specific tattoo artists that do that, but you can always reach out and ask. So I love that. Thank you, Natalie, for sharing.
Let's see.
Oh, and Kelly mentioned photo blankets. Yes, we love those. I think Etsy, you can get custom made blankets, hoodies, t-shirts, pillows, anything you want. So I love that suggestion. Thanks, Kelly.
Wow, Rick, that's amazing that you did a live stream and raised $6,000 for the ASPCA. That is so impressive. That's beautiful. What a way to honor your fur baby.
That's beautiful. Does anyone have any other questions or any suggestions for other memorials that you've done? Again, we have a ton of lists, but I feel like there's always new keepsakes and new things that we're hearing every single day. And I just love that there's so many options for memorials too. I don't think many of these existed years ago. So being able to, have things to honor your babies in the ways that you want, and also the ways that we honor our people, I think is just speaks volumes to who you are as pet parents as well, wanting to be able to do this for them.
Yeah. Oh, Amy says she was able to get a local minister to come do a local memorial service in your home. That is so kind of them. I'm so glad that you're able to get somebody to support you through that. Because like we said before, having memorials for our fur babies is just as important.
And also too, speaking of memorials, when we think about our human loved ones that have passed, we tend to have a funeral within, the first few weeks that they've passed away. And with animals, it's a little different. Sometimes, we're not planning for it, or again, you get them cremated and it takes a while to get them back. And so, remind yourself that you don't have to do these things right away. If you decide to wait to do a service on their gotcha day, or, the day before Christmas, even though it's been 6 months since they passed away, you can still go ahead and do that. There's no timeline for your grief, and there's no timeline for when you decide to honor them. So if you're looking today and you hear something from us and you decide, oh, that's a great idea and I want to do that, but they passed away 6 months ago, go ahead and do it. Give yourself permission to do what you need to do to get through this. So I love that, Amy. Thank you for sharing what you did for your baby.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
And, I wanted to add, speaking of keepsakes, there's one keepsake that I think is really cool. It's cuddle clones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is really good for people who really relied on physical affection, or their pets for physical affection. We don't realize how much we rely on our pets for physical affection oftentimes until we lose them. And so cuddle clones, it's really cool. It's where you can take different pictures of your fur baby and send it in, and they'll make a stuffed animal in the likeness of your fur baby. So that can be really great. Also, if you have kids in the home, that can be great for them too, to kind of have that memory of them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and our contact information is in there. Please reach out. Like I said, we're here to support you all in any way that we can. But thanks so much for joining us today. I hope that you got some great ideas on how to honor your sweet ones. So thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys. It's been an honor.
Bye. Thank you.